And I ended up liquidating my 401k, migrated over, paid the tax, paid the penalty.
But it's only through other communities that we've invested in that we knew that it was the right thing to do.
And I started digging, and I just got caught with the bug. Our first meeting was March 18th of 2020, and the world shut down 3 days before that.
You know, I think COVID was this great reset for everyone to think like, do I want to do this shit anymore?
That's more or less like a ground up construction job. It wasn't going to cash flow for years. It was a mistake. I shouldn't have gotten into that deal. Does it fit or does it not fit, kind of thing, and go from there. And when you get emotional, that's when you make mistakes.
Chad, officially welcome to the Wealth Juice podcast. Corey and I are so excited to have you on the show today, man. We've run in the same circles actually for a while now and just haven't formally been acquainted. So it's an honor to have you here, man. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, no, thanks, Ryan, Corey, both of you for having me on. Love the podcast. Love what you're doing. Congratulations on being on for as long as you guys have. That's some good tenure you've got going. So really happy to be on, tell a little bit of my story as well. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So let's do that. Let's take a trip down memory lane here and maybe talk about how you got into the world of real estate. And then I know you're a business coach. There's a lot that you do, but I think, many of our listeners are W-2 workers transitioning into become real estate investors, or maybe do a little bit of both, full-time real estate investors. And so I want to kind of go through your journey of where you were and then how you got to where you're at today.
Yeah, no, perfect. It's developing into a book because there's so much with it. It seems like that. I think would be great to help inspire people if they are looking for something anyway. But I was career W-2 guy. I was in HR of all places. So not exactly the feeder point for real estate investing, but it's busy professional that's looking for another out. I liked what I was doing, but I didn't necessarily, I was looking for safety nets. I was looking for backup plans to have some cash flow. It actually started when I changed jobs and I had some windshield time. Somebody at the new job mentioned that she was looking at multiple income streams and real estate specifically. And I'm like, well, yeah, I like real estate a lot. I want to take a peek into this too. And I started digging and I just got caught with the bug. And I started listening to podcasts, found BiggerPockets, found the real estate radio guys, started just mooching off of it, got into BiggerPockets and started getting their books. I got a bunch of them back here behind me. Doing, again, dashboard time. I was filling it with podcasts and audiobooks and everything to learn all I could. The problem was there's so many shiny objects there. I couldn't figure out where to deploy, what to really implement. I tried with a group of buddies to do a wholesale business. I'm in Columbus, Ohio. There was a lot of opportunity there, but we just couldn't get it working at the time. And I found a local meetup group through BiggerPockets site because they market local meetups and so forth. Went to the Central Ohio Investment Network and listened to a few of those. And the last one that I went to, one of their founders got up and talked about how he left his W-2 by investing passively in real estate. And it caught my attention. I'm like, okay, this is what I want to engage in. And the more he described it, he talked about all the things he failed at, did wrong, everything else, but he was still able to get out of his W-2. And I'm like, well, this sounds like the thing that I'm looking for then. I can scale without having to be a landlord, without having to chase all of the single family headaches that you do. But I can deploy my money into real estate and get the benefits of real estate that I liked. So when we got to the Q&A, I raised my hand. I said, how long from when you knew real estate was your thing to when you left your W-2, what'd that take with all the mistakes you made? And he's like, oh, it was probably like 5 years. I said, great. I want to meet you afterwards and I want to do it in 3. And we met, we found out we were in the same suburb of Columbus. We got together for beers. We started talking about it. I fell in love with it. He wanted to start a mini spinoff of that coin group. So we were going to do a syndication group and we were going to have our first meeting. We're going to try to do kind of a mastermind, get 10 or 12 people. Our first meeting was March 18th of 2020 and the world shut down 3 days before that. So we went on to Zoom, and going on to Zoom, was the best thing that ever happened to us. So we were able to grow that community because we could invite anybody to it then. It didn't have to stay small. And we grew that into what became Left Field Investors. And that taught me a lot about investing in real estate. It really got my juices going. I started pulling the triggers and I loved it. And after I'd done 2 or 3 deals, started investing in 2018. After I'd done 2 or 3 deals, I'm like, I like this, all I need is capital to make it work now, and I can meet my goal of getting it out of my W-2. And so I looked to my 401k, and I ended up liquidating my 401k, migrated over, paid the tax, paid the penalty, moved it over. And then I met my goal of, it was actually 3.5 years after I met Jim. I was able to walk away from my W-2 between my investments and what we were doing with left field at the time.
Chad,
yeah, go ahead.
You hit a bunch of like
It's a lot of
real
things.
estate,
a lot of layers.
Well, real estate buzzwords, leave the W-2, passive income, where it's just like, it's thrown around a lot. But I find this really interesting. So it's not that I didn't think that you could leave your W-2 through investing passively through syndications. I know you can, but to me, to do it in 3 or 5 years seems insane. Now, is this a case of like, okay, you got to make $500,000 a year and bank 250 of it to make this happen? Like, what is the strategy that you used that other people could potentially use to be able to actually, because that's the only way that that real estate is really truly passive, is if you're an LP, limited partner in real estate deals. That's the only way that I've seen it to be completely passive. It is more passive. Let me explain this. More passive than working your W-2 job significantly, but it's not passive. So you're Correct. Hitting on a couple things here. So what is that? How do you employ that strategy? How do you do it to get, 5 years, 3 years out of your W-2 job?
Yeah, that's fair. And I would say even a passive investor is active to begin with. You're active up until you buy into the deal and sign the contract, send your check. Then it becomes very passive. But you've got to be active to do your due diligence. So this isn't I'm giving my money to somebody and it's just going to work. You have to do your homework and do your due diligence for sure. So, but that's fair. But yeah, it ultimately it boiled down to capital, right? Of the first thing I didn't do right was understand my strategy, understand my goals of what I was really going for. Once I aligned that, hey, I'm trying to get cash flow and I want to get out of my W-2, then that really helped me focus, because there's a lot of shiny objects in real estate investing, period. There's shiny objects in passive investing by itself, because there's so many asset classes. There's so many goal strategies to go to. Once I got my goals and my strategies aligned and knew what I was trying to do, then that cut out a lot of the noise that I could focus on cash flowing assets that I knew would help me, that also built wealth. Like I wanted growth in there still too. So that limited it down to quite a few. Then it became a numbers game of just cash. And at the time, again, I had caught some good spikes in my 401k through some of the tech trends that I had been able to take advantage of, that I was able to walk away with about 60% of what I had in there, which is a hard pill to swallow. But it allowed me to I got into 16 deals with my 401k then, because I was trying to spread it out by do mostly minimums, so I could meet as many different operators as I could and diversify. But that allowed me to pull in enough cash flow between that, and it didn't fully replace my W-2, but it gave me that freedom. I was actually still in my job for a part of it, and I went and negotiated with my job. They started doing layoffs. And I said, I've been here for 13 years. Let me go. You know I'm short term. I'm on my way out. I wanted a package, really, is what I wanted. I get a nice 13-year package out of it. That was going to help a lot. But I wanted to get out. So I was, for the first time in my career, negotiating to get fired. And I couldn't do it. I was in such a niche role. I was focused on sales compensation design that there just weren't a lot of bodies to backfill me or fill that space. So I had to stay on, but I whittled down to, I said, okay, I'll stay, but I'm 2 days a week is all I want to do.
See that, Chad,
so it's that freedom. Yeah,
that's power. That's optionality. That's the thing that we talk about. People always want to escape the work. They want to sit on a beach, but in reality, what they actually want is just to remove the desperation of having to go to work every day and do something that you don't actually like. So for you to do something that I imagine that you like to some degree and do it at 2 days a week. We have a friend of ours who we talk about real estate, alternative investments, Bitcoin. He's a deca millionaire. Yeah, and he's not worth over 100 million. Deca millionaire for sure, maybe upwards of 20, 30, 40 million dollars. He still works. He still works because he's like, I'm working with my friends. So
it's the best position to be in, right? Of have a W-2 you like and you're getting cash flow from. All the rest of it, you leave the money in the machine and you build your wealth with it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Not having to take distributions is a wonderful thing to help you out long term.
The question that I have for you about, and I'll let Rye jump in too, but the question I have for you about the syndications is, you mentioned a couple things that kind of like sparked something for me in the back of my head. I'm like, well, you're in Columbus. One, I'm wondering, if these syndication deals are in and around your area. And two, you mentioned a bunch of operators. And I find that interesting because Rye and I are general partners and we've worked with 2 operators because it's taken us, anyone can say in an email to 506C accredited investors that we're going to get a 26% return. You get an email and you're like, I mean, maybe that's cool, but we've had to vet operator after operator, and then we've had to lose money in deals. We've had to figure it out. And now we have guys that we really, really trust, but it's only a couple. So I'm curious about how you vetted. And so a couple questions in there. Is it local? And then second thing is like, how do you vet working with multiple operators, and have you lost money in the process?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, yes. I think you stay in the process long enough, you're going to lose some money. Over the last couple of years, the way things have gone, just the luck has caught up with me. But so to answer the questions, first and foremost, none of them are in Columbus, Ohio. They're all diversified. And in our community, we always preach diversification in asset class and operator and geography, so that you didn't buy everything in South Florida and then the whole portfolio gets wiped out by a hurricane, if you will. So none of mine actually happen to be. I haven't found deals locally that I liked enough. But how we vetted, this was the whole community approach for us. The more LPs we got in, the more experiences we heard from, the more GPs we got to meet and operators. And then you got to a point where we had 2,000 people in our community when we were done, right? When we sold our company. There was enough feedback in the forum that we had then that I wouldn't invest with an operator if nobody in my community had heard of them, just because I want that word of mouth. I want real life experience of somebody that I trust that has worked with this operator to know how they communicate. Did they meet their pro formas? What was their strategy? Did it all go well? I don't want to take the risk of doing it on my own and just me go out and meet an operator and go. But you're 100% right. It's hard to find GPs. You can't Google it. They don't have a phone book. That was the benefit of the community to us. That was one of the things we really loved about building our company, which was called Left Field Investors at the time. We really like that ability to expand our own knowledge. We built it to become better LPs because we knew if we build it, we're going to learn the most out of it. But then it was just getting exposure to all these other operators, asset classes, whatever, that just gave us a lot of information to feed off of. And once you started getting on some lists that you were an LP and had capital, you started getting a lot of emails, which is dangerous to your point. Like, I didn't want to trust every email that came through. Beware of the good marketer that maybe isn't a good operator. So it takes due diligence again.
I have a couple questions for you, Chad, if you don't mind sharing. At what age were you when you had this epiphany that you were like, listen, I'm done. I want to make this a 3-year time horizon?
Yeah, I was 48 at the time.
Cool.
So I'm 53
it's good perspective
now. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The reason I ask that is some people, they hear the podcast like this and they assume everybody's 28, and they're like, oh yeah, liquidate the 401k that might have $100,000 in it, or maybe 50. And you're like, it's just not possible. So yeah. I just want to frame that for people. You mentioned, I'm not trying to give away the exact numbers, right? But if you just do some math, typically the minimums are $50,000 to get into a project, right? And you mentioned you got into 16 of them. Do the math, right? So you had some money stacked up from years of putting in the work.
Yep.
And I just want to talk through the mental battle you went through, or maybe not the mental battle, but this is really the risk reward kind of spectrum here, and the ability to go in and say, okay, I found something new. I've studied it to a point. I'm going to liquidate the money that I've saved for a 25-year career, close to that, right?
Yep.
And put it into that and try a bunch of different things. So the reason I bring this up is we've had a few other gentlemen of various ages that have done the same thing. One of our, I would call him like a mentor, a colleague, friend. We're in his mastermind. He was an air traffic controller and he liquidated his 401k and he put it, and he was nowhere near the spectrum of where, like, in his timeline of your career, he's maybe 10 years your senior or younger, I should say. And I'd imagine way less in there, but he had one deal that went great. And then he took the proceeds from that deal and rolled it into his business, and just honestly he's flourished, and he's in all these connections and things. So I bring this up to say, he took a bet young. You took a bet where you're like, there's a lot more on the line. I'd imagine you probably had a family at that point or something. So can you just talk us through your decision to do that? How you kind of pulled the trigger? Because I think people would probably think it's amazing and then say, you know what? Nah, I'll just keep doing one bet.
No, that's fair. I struggle with a lot of those very situations. Like, I thought this is way too late for me to start. I'm too old for this, whatever. But I was in a situation, I was divorced at the time. I had 2 kids. I had the college taken care of for them that I was going to do. They were both teenagers. I was at a point where I didn't have a spouse to have to convince, and I had the kids that I felt were comfortable. And I'm an 18-year clock kind of guy. Like I'm helping you up to 18. At some point, you got to fly, little bird, and go do your own thing too. So it wasn't that I'm planning to take care of them till they're 25 or something. It was like, no, I feel like I can take this flyer on myself here and see. And I'm like, okay, I'm 48. Let me, I can always save up again. I can always start another 401k. I can always kind of get it going again if that's the case. That I was willing to take the risk. And I always like to disclaim my story as I view this as an option, not the option for people to follow. So it's just where I was with my risk profile, with my strategy, with what I had going on in my life. It was a good time and place to go take a run at it.
Yeah,
I like it. I think it's just an interesting battle to go between, because Corey and I, quite honestly, like we go through this too. I've stacked a decent amount of my 401k, and just from years of putting a big chunk in there, and then it's slow growing. You see now we're getting pitched alternative investments. We have real estate. We do multifamily similar to you. We're GPs on a lot of deals, and we buy very specific now in our portfolio, just where we are in our career and in our time horizon. But it's so interesting because I always think about it, I'm like, maybe I should just liquidate, and then I could be out the W-2, do my thing. I'm balancing the W-2 and running our business, and like kind of have it kind of what you were doing, right? You have a timeline, but you have the inflows. You're leveraging those for your investments, for your business, all these things, right?
Yeah.
But I also have a family, so I asked that. It was kind of more of a selfish question to say, okay, like where were you at? Why did you decide to make the move? Did it ever just cross your mind? You're like, hey, listen, like I'm not getting any younger at this point, and also like, we're all just a number. Like, I just want to follow a passion. Did that play into it at all?
100%. I mean, the whole reason I got into this is I'm sitting on the edge of my seat right now. I love to talk real estate with people. I think it's such an interesting thing. I think the people in the industry are interesting. Everybody's very open, especially on the syndication side, because there's so many deals, there's so many opportunities. Nobody's got to hide their information, if you will. That it is a very communal kind of thing. It's like a fraternity almost. So I got passionate about the idea of making money on a passion, which seems like the goal that everybody should have, right? Find a way to make money on whatever you're passionate about. This was finally clicking. I like the community thing. I grew up the son of teachers, and half the family's teachers. So educators, community kind of feel that this really scratched a lot of itches for me and excited me because it was something that I could really get into. I went so far as I put together a tribe and LLC with my 2 kids in it, gifted them some money, and I'm investing with them so I could teach them early on and let it be educational for them to make better decisions in their 20s than, I waited till I was in my 40s. Now, I'm a believer in diversity, and you ought to probably have money in both stock market and real estate's a good place to go. I just was at a point where I pulled the trigger and like, no, I don't want to wait till I'm late 60s to start earning, living off that cash. I want it available to me now that I can either leave it in the machine or I can take it out if I've got something going on. I wanted that freedom, that flexibility.
I love it, man. The last question for me on this, and then I'll let Corey go. I know he's got a couple, is just kind of as you're going through this, you mentioned all these deals that came available to you. Then you're like, noodling with the decision to liquidate the 401k. How did you vet the operators? Because I think a lot of people are going through this right now where they're saying, this sounds amazing, right? How do I find the right people? How do I find the right deals for me? You mentioned the list, right? You get on the list, but I'm just curious, then once you are presented all these things, what due diligence did you do on your end to ensure that it was, you're mitigating as much as you possibly can for the best outcome?
Yeah, no, it is absolutely a know, like, and trust business. So it's conversation, it's email. We had a list of questions that we recommended people use to vet an operator that were 50 some questions. And we tried to ask them every one and see how they'd respond to that. And if they were put off and like, I don't have time for this, that's a walk away. That's a red flag. Like, if you don't have time for me before I give you money, you're not going to have time for me after I give you money. So it was a lot of that. And then it was a lot of the community vetting. It was almost more important to vet in the community to get a feel for it of, hey, has anybody ever heard of Chad Ackerman, general partner? If nobody had, then I would go back to that operator and say, look, nobody in my group knows you. It's not a no. It's a no today. It's I want to watch you. Put me on your communications. Let me see how this goes for a year, how you perform against your performa. And maybe a year from now, we'll get in your deal that you have going on at that point in time. That's a big element of it. And it's, it's track record, it's performance, it's reputation. We do background checks on operators a lot just to double check. Try to do background checks on the team just because you never know, like, who's really controlling it and what influence do they have, and are they of right sound mind and sound mind for this kind of thing too. So, but the community was the biggest piece of it, just to get understanding from others in the community. If they had a track record with that operator already, that just spoke. I always said, as we were running left field, if I could bottle and sell somebody giving you accolades, that was gold, because a lot of people jumped on that word of mouth. But you obviously can't do that. Now, doesn't mean that we're not wrong. I mean, I don't know if you know the ATMs fiasco, but ATMs were seen as an asset class to get into, to cash flow for years, for a dozen years. It was a very lucrative cash flowing asset class that everybody bought into, everybody thought was great. Well, now 2 of their founders are going to jail for the SEC locking them down for Ponzi schemes because they weren't running it well. So it doesn't mean that we aren't wrong, but at the same time, everybody in the community kind of vetted it, felt like it was legit. They've been in it for a long time. It had been working. Things change. So you got to understand your due diligence along the way. Don't get comfortable of like, oh, they did great last time, I'm just going to get in another one. Every deal is different. Make sure you're comfortable with that specific deal as well.
Yeah, Chad, this all comes down to the risk tolerance level. Ryan and I have done amazing on deals. We've done okay on deals. We've done bad on deals. And it's like, the expectation coming in from a general partner is probably the biggest key thing. We've got into a couple deals where we were promised, and not necessarily promised because you're an investor and anything can happen, but like the pro forma was telling us one thing and then we're in a deal and it does something else. And it's not necessarily bad, or it's just that it wasn't what we thought. So the upfront, hey, like, am I going to promise you a 29% return and then give you a 16 and just hope you're okay with that? Or am I going to say, hey, this is a 14% IRR backed by the best asset class in the world, real estate. And then you get 15 and you're like, sweet, like these guys are awesome, So I think, and I just want to bring this up, I love talking to people like yourself who are willing to take the risk and liquidate the 401k. And again, I'm not suggesting that everyone does this, but for me, this is the reason why we do the podcast, to talk to people that are like, well, you know what? I know the situation that I'm definitely going to be in if I don't take the risk, or if I don't take the plunge. I'm going to be, and I might have a great life and it might be fun, it might be cool, I might take 2 vacations a year, but I know where I'm going to be. I don't have this upside, this hockey stick upside that comes with taking a risk like that. So I just want to commend you, because it's funny. Ryan and I were lucky in the sense that we came across real estate in this game in our late 20s, mid to late 20s. Now we're in our early 30s, approaching mid. I just find myself to be having conversations with people who are in their 20s and 30s and saying, you can still do this in your 40s, but if you have 4 kids and you're paying for college, it's going to be a lot harder to make those types of decisions. So I just think that it's cool that you were able to be like, you know what, like, why not me? Why can't I live financially free off something? And there's not really a question there, but I just wanted to give you props for it.
No, I appreciate it. It didn't come with its own stress or without its own stress and, a lot of sleepless nights and everything else. So I got lucky, getting in 2018, the market was still pretty hot and people were being still very successful. The last 2, if you tried to start the last couple of years, it's probably a different story. It's a different feel of, I had a couple home runs. I had ones that doubled my money in 13 months that I'm like, this is the greatest thing I've ever gotten into, that I didn't have to lift a finger, vet a tenant, chase termites, anything like that. But now it's a different game. Now it's about due diligence. I learned more about loan structure over the last couple of years because everybody got burnt on bridge loans than I'd ever thought I'd have to do it. But all of those things add up to mitigating your risk. And that's what it's all about. And that's what I'm trying to do now with the business that I'm in now, is just expose this space to more professionals and more people to let them know it's there, and educate them on how to be safe and build their confidence to go take a look at it. Go, educate yourself. Go talk to operators, learn how to vet a deal, try to figure out if this is comfortable for you or not,
I want to talk to you about left field investors too, because Ryan and I have our own community. We teach people how to buy their first rental property, to get in the game actively, to feel the change this can make in your life, to watch the tax benefits, to have the cash flow, to be able to like tangibly have control of your assets, more so than us for the stock market, even though we invest in both. But left field investor seems like an awesome community. And I've seen more about these communities, they're growing and there's a niche for everyone, but you were able to sell your community, if you will, your business to BiggerPockets, and then it got rebranded as Passive Pockets, which I've heard. Right. And that was one of the reasons why I really wanted to chat with you, because I've heard of this and I didn't know that it was you. So talk to me about what it was like to grow the community and then have the option to sell it and to sell this brand. Because let me frame why I'm asking the question, because Ryan and I have our own community, and I've never thought of an option as to like sell our community, because we are the brand, and like, why would people want to buy our brand if the people that bought in are for our brand? You know what I mean? So,
right.
But I think I'm just thinking about it the wrong way. So how did it even come to be that BiggerPockets approached you about buying your business?
Yeah, Left Field by all means was a passion project that was like our baby. There were two of us that worked full time on it. There was another two that were part time that made it run. And that was part of the problem at the end of the day, was just we didn't have the resources behind it. It kept growing. It needed to get bigger, and we didn't have the resources to really do it. But the coolest day that I ever had, we hosted an in-person conference here in Columbus, and we had 150 LPs come to it. And I had at least 3 people come up to me and tell me, "Thank you for what you did. You changed my life with what you did." That we had no expectation that this was going to be our impact. We just were idiots trying to learn more about passive investing ourselves. And it turned into this thing that we were really helping people out. And we had a real community feel to it. There was a lot of blowback when we announced that we were going to sell too, of like, wait, is it going to lose the culture? And that's what worked, is we had a culture first. And then we had an operator come to us and say, "Hey, I've had 5 people from your group say that they heard about my deal through your group. Can I come pitch to your group and I'll pay you?" And we're like, crap, we could get paid money for this. This is great. So then it turned into a business. Before it was a culture, and then it became a business. And we protected that culture with everything we decided to do with the business then as we grew. Well, fast forward about a year and a half ago, a common friend of us and BiggerPockets put us together with Scott Trench, and Scott was looking to build out a passive investing community, because we were all on BiggerPockets to start with, and there wasn't enough syndication discussion there for us. That's why we went out and started Left Field Investors, because we wanted to have that. Scott came back to us and said, "Hey, we're trying to grow our own. We'd love to partner with you, see what you've learned from your experience and see how that might help us. Would you be willing?" And we're like, "Yeah, that'd be fine." And jokingly, he said, "Well, maybe we'll buy you out." And we said, "Well, why don't you buy us out? And we'll transition over with you and help you get to market quicker, and you can learn from our mistakes." And they liked that idea. So we were able to blend our resources together and help. I'm still on as an advisory committee member to help, make some decisions around it. But now it's got resources behind it that we weren't going to be able to provide for it, and it's got growth potential that we couldn't give it. So we love seeing that what we created, our legacy is still there. It's still growing. It doesn't have the same name, but it's what we started, and it's has a lot of the same aspects, a lot of the same culture in it still, but it's going to get BiggerPockets spin. And that way you can go into BiggerPockets and study all the single family, wholesale it, start from the beginning and work your way all the way through. They always called it, we hated that people were graduating out to go to passive investing. So we wanted to build a passive investing community. Well, now that's all offered under one umbrella in the BiggerPockets family then, which I think is super cool. So it worked out really well. I mean, it was our best case scenario.
I mean, you put your message into the universe, you create something that you said you create the brand and the culture first. And then before you know it, people find you and the money finds you. So I think that's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now you have CARE, which is, for people that don't know, Chad Ackerman Real Estate. It's really branded, with your name on it. So talk to us about that and how the transition. Did you essentially restart the same company in a way? Like how did it change?
Yeah, not necessarily. So when we got through the transition with BiggerPockets, I was like, well, I'm not done. I was 52, 51 at the time. I'm like, I'm not done. I got to do something. That I went out and got certified as a Focal Point business coach. Focal Point was founded by Brian Tracy. If you've ever read sales books, you've probably read a Brian Tracy book along the way. I love that model. And I was looking for, what am I really going to focus on from a business coaching standpoint? And talking to my partners from Left Field, they're like, well, why don't you just go coach LPs to be LPs? And I'm like, yeah, why not blend the Focal Point coaching resources with the experience, the passion around real estate? And it gets me back in the industry. So it's not necessarily a new left field. It's more, I want to introduce people and then send them to Passive Pockets. Go get on that forum, go get part of a community. There's other communities out there that are good too. So it's not just going to be a funnel to Passive Pockets necessarily, but that's a good one as well. But I want to take the professional that's busy, that's trying to figure out how to get into real estate, but can't scale, can't figure it out. I want to educate them on, hey, there's this whole passive investing side that there isn't a lot of education on. There's a ton of education on how to flip houses or be wholesaler or buy and rent. There's a ton of information about how to be a general partner. There's not a lot of information on how to be an LP. And I think it's a very valuable tool. Obviously, I'm passionate about it. I dumped all my money into it, for crying out loud. But I want to go back and I want to expand who gets to know about that space even more and do more education.
So give us some of the behind the scenes of what if you were somebody who's maybe they've been an LP already, but they want to make better, smarter decisions, or maybe they're thinking about, they have some money on the sidelines and they don't necessarily want to go flip a house or buy real estate themselves, which I can make an argument that there's an argument to be made for both, right? But what are some, 3 or 5 things that you would tell a new LP to look for that can help them make informed decisions about whether or not the deal that they're looking at or the operator that they're vetting is a good one?
Yeah. Well, I start everything out with talking about goals and strategy. If you don't have your goals set, you make mistakes. Like, you don't know what you're searching for. My first passive investment that I got into, it was a 17-story building in Cleveland that was an office building that was getting a full gut job and then converted to micro apartments. And I got just wowed by the sexiness of it. Like, this is a really nice shiny object, promising 7x returns and everything else. Sounded fantastic. I invested in it. Well, I didn't set my goal yet of wanting to replace my W-2 income. That's more or less like a ground up construction job. It wasn't going to cash flow for years. It was a mistake. I shouldn't have gotten into that deal. So I start with goals. It's not fun. People don't love to do it, but it's so important to really align with what your goals are for this business, because there are so many shiny objects. It's easy to get distracted. Getting that goal set really cuts down that noise again so that you can focus. I start there. Once we get that, then I want to educate you on asset classes, because certain asset classes align really well to certain goals. Again, I want cash flow. I can ignore development jobs. They aren't going to cash flow forever. They're good wealth building maybe, but I wasn't looking for cash flow necessarily. So understand your goals, understand the asset classes. Then let's get into vetting the operators, because we say you're betting the horse, or you're betting the jockey, not the horse, really. So you need to understand the operator and trust them. So let me teach you the skills of going and making sure you're comfortable with the operator. Now, finally, let's talk about deal and how do you vet a deal and what are the aspects of this that you really want to pay attention to, because there's so many metrics in a deal. It's easy to get lost in a spreadsheet on that. So find the things that really matter most to you and your risk profile to really understand the metrics that those are involved with, and then balance those against the deal and try to cut out the exciting marketing side of it and get into the numbers so that you can understand what's really there, kind of thing.
I found, Chad, that numbers don't really sell real estate. People sell real estate, and you kind of confirm that there too. It's like, if Ryan and I are going to be general partners on a project and people have followed our content, they've been listening to our podcast, they understand to the core what we're about and who we are, and that we're here to serve, and that we truly mean we want what's best for the people that are following and listening to us. And then maybe they join our community and they get even a closer insight into who we are because we're working with them one-on-one. Those people are saying, you know what, the next deal that comes up, guys, I know, like, and trust you guys. I know that you've vetted it. And even if the deal doesn't 100% go to plan, which there's unforeseen things in real estate that they know that we, as people that are stewards of money, are going to help them, and I'll come out of my own pocket to make things right. Now, we've never had to do that, and we're only 4 years into this game, so I'm not suggesting that could never happen. But the point is that they're buying into us, or they're buying into you, or they're buying into that person who's a general partner, and anyone can slap their name on a business card and say that they buy real estate and that they've done syndications, and it's becoming harder and harder and harder to weed through the marketing of the internet right now. There's a 22-year-old with a rented Lamborghini on every single post these days. So it's like, how do you decide if somebody's good enough for you? And I would think, I unfortunately think that part of the thing that you have to do is screw it up a little bit, and then just not give up, and like maybe not lose all your money, but you have to kind of go through some of the like, okay, well, I made this mistake because I got shiny object syndrome. I'm going to pivot to this. And then I need to do the vetting, the work that is like having these conversations, having Zoom calls, meeting people in person, meeting their family, like doing the real, like business is all people and relationships. And I know that kind of gets like beaten to a pulp, but I've just found it over and over that like, if you are in this game and you want to do right by others, you're going to win more often than not. And that's, maybe it goes without saying, but I felt like saying it.
Well, no, I think unfortunately there's a lot of operators out there that don't operate that way. So I think that stands you guys out a little bit, honestly, from my experience of who I've talked to and so forth. But the short answer to what you were asking about to me is I'm a big believer in community, and you're going to hear me say community a bunch of times. But to me, that value is, if I'm in a community, I can vet you as an operator by talking to other people and their experiences to understand. Like, it's the idea of what I did with Jim. I wanted to learn from his mistakes and avoid them myself. Getting into a community and learning about all these mistakes that others have made, I'm with you. I think you learn more from your mistakes than you do your successes, but you really don't want to commit them. So learn from other people's mistakes instead and try. It doesn't mean you're going to get it 100% right. If you're in the business long enough, you're going to get stuff wrong, but hopefully you're mitigating some of those issues by getting connected with a lot of people. I'm a big fan of the community thing. There's just that you got to be cautious of groupthink. That's the fear with it, of not getting wrapped up in everybody else's shiny object. So you got to go into it understanding your goals and strategies may not be aligned to what other people in the community have. So take what you get as, data, but align it to your own criteria. I try to help LPs build out a buy box. So bump all this information you get up against your buy box to decide if it makes sense or not, because your buy box is going to be most likely different than anybody else's. So don't just follow the leader of somebody in the group. Put it up against your own criteria. And to me, it takes the emotion out of it. When you have the goal set and a buy box set and stuff, it becomes more black and white. Does it fit or does it not fit, kind of thing, and go from there. And when you get emotional, that's when you make mistakes. That's when bad things happen to you.
Chad, super insightful. I have one for you. I know this might be more on the business coaching and consulting side of things, but at what point, and maybe this can be personal or just maybe an experience that someone in your communities has asked you about, but I'm just so curious, as entrepreneurs, we are kind of thrown into the fire every day, and it's all trial by error and trial by fire, if you will. And at what point do you decide to pivot? And I know that's kind of a broad question, but what I mean is, you're going through and for example, there's different strategy on how to, whether it's to get new leads, to retain leads, to all these things. So for us, we've had a number of different things. As we've built our community, we've looked at, outreach to pay for paid ads, right? To bring people in. Then it's natural to go on other people's podcasts that bring people into the business. Then it's using Instagram, using other means, word of mouth, events, all these things, right? And so I think for some people, you get into these mastermind groups that we're talking about, and networking groups, where one thing's working amazing for some companies. So for example, like a webinar strategy, right? Like you go on, you host a live webinar and hundreds of people show up, and then they build rapport, and then, they come into your pipeline. Eventually you get them, you close them into the community, something like that, right?
Sure.
Other people go strictly through the podcast and just they nurture people through a podcast. Other people go strictly through Instagram and they pay for ads. There's so many things. I'm just thinking about this as trying to give an example for people, and why I'm asking this is, at what point do you keep trying the same thing over and over and over until you pivot without giving up on the thing that you're pursuing? And hopefully that makes sense.
No, it does. It's a great question. It's something I struggle with in my own business all the time. We struggled with it with Left Field. I am a believer in being agile. And what I loved about the entrepreneur world when I got into it and got out of the W-2 world is I love to just try something, give it a whirl, see if it works. Doesn't work, go try something else. there are some things that I feel like I'm lucky enough to be married to a brand strategist now. So I bounce things off of her constantly of, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? It helps me that feedback helps me hold on to things that I think have potential, but go try other things as well until you get enough data to really realize what's working, what's not, cut the ties on this, lean into that, whatever the case is. But I think agility is a big piece of this from my experience. It probably depends on the business and what the type of business is. There are, probably aspects that work like clockwork in certain businesses that, hey, you need to master that and be really good at it. I find in what I'm doing now and what we did with left field, it's kind of a cast a wide net, try a lot of things and see what clicks, and then just keep pulling on the thing that had better retention for you, kind of thing at the end of the day.
Cool.
But
you have a nice little...
I think you need to pivot frequently, personally.
Yeah, you do. And it's actually, this is a behind the doors kind of conversation for people that want to become entrepreneurs. Cause you think, well, it's painted so perfectly by this ad that you viewed, right? That you're getting this magic key to success and you're going to do it one time and it's just going to work. And it's not the case. You have to pivot every single day. And it's not only pivoting strategy, but it's pivoting relationships and pivoting how you deploy cash. And there's so many different things. So another question for you too, I'm just curious on your take on this is, at what point do you, or how do you vet this out when you know you can learn something and do it yourself? It's going to take you a while to learn it versus paying someone else to do it. And I know it's a double-edged sword here because, hey, if you learn it yourself, it's going to take way longer, but you'll have the skill set. Yeah. Whereas you could be doing other things that are generating money where you could just pay someone else to do it, but then you don't learn the skill. And then you're going to have to pay someone else again. So I'm so curious how you navigate in your business on that.
Yeah, no, being a corporate guy, I got to go through a lot of personality assessments through the years. And my favorite one was Strength Finders. It was Covey's Strength Finders. I don't know if you've ever done his or not.
I've done it. I love it.
I loved his model of the logic behind Strength Finders was we're gonna rate your 36 different characteristics or whatever from your strongest to your weakest. And it is, don't go try to improve your weakest. Your weakest are your weakest because it's natural. Your strengths are your strengths because it's natural. Lean into what's natural about you and what comes easy to you. My number one strength is ideation. So I have to be creative. I have to be doing things that are creative. So those operational things that are mundane and transactional, I believe in the idea of pay somebody to do that for me because it's going to crush my creativity. It's going to suck the life out of me and I just won't have energy. That it's worth not trying to learn the skill myself. It's worth pawning that off so I can keep leaning into my strengths instead.
Yep. I couldn't agree with you more. And that's not for everyone, by the way. That's an answer. That's unique to you. And you only can learn this and do this by going through the motions and having the experience and trying it yourself, the trial and error thing again. Corey and I have gone through this a number of times and we look back, we're like, man, we could have just learned this ourselves, or that was a fail. This one worked out. We got a little nugget from this group. We've joined a bunch of different masterminds because what we found is, the fastest way we've gotten to success was to put ourselves around the people that have already achieved what we want to do at a very high level, i.e., you were going to talk about left field and passive pockets and all that. And like, we have our own mastermind, but it's only through other communities that we've invested in that we knew that it was the right thing to do. And you're able to ask questions in real time. You don't have to go back to hit the pages. It's just, you can get answers faster. And if they can't answer it for you, you have another connection, go talk to this person. Right. Yeah. But then, you get into those conversations and someone usually has something to sell you, like a service. And you're like, do I put the capital into that or do I put the time into that? And so for some of these things, just plainly, they're a lot of techie stuff. And I'm like, this is not my bag. And I can get to 80%, but I'm not going to be able to do it efficiently over and over and over. I need to go back and do the thing I'm amazing at. So Corey and I are actively going through this. And I think it's an everyday thing that you actively go through as an entrepreneur. I think about this all the time, and we're just trying to, we've read the book Traction by Gino Wickman, and it has like the integrator, it has the visionary too. And there's ways to divide your roles and things, but still there's players that you have to put in. I think that's that's the hard part of business is you can't rely on yourself every time. You have to go hire the A players, but you're also trying to make sure you're utilizing the capital that you have the right way and not wasting money. Yeah. So just, I was just very curious overall on your thoughts on how you kind of ran your ship and how you navigated this, because it's a different world than the W-2. Like you're in control. you have capital that comes into the business and you have to deploy it and vet it out in certain ways. And it's a lot harder than people think.
There's nobody else to blame. It's on you kind of thing.
Yeah.
To me, what it boiled back to, I was a believer in the philosophy of you are who you surround yourself with, the 5 closest people you're with. I purposely went out and sought out people that were ahead of me in this business and entrepreneurs and had different backgrounds, diversity, to help me grow, because I knew there was strength in that to lean off of those. So that when we started Left Field, we came from very different areas that filled the weaknesses that were, mine. We had people on the team that were filling that so that we rounded out very well. And we were probably lucky. I don't know that was strategic. It was more that idea of surrounding yourself with people that were further along that it kind of landed there. But to me, that's the whole reason why they created the VA business is you go out and get a virtual assistant to help you with about anything this day and age. That I think there is, it boils down to your situation. So it's not like there's a playbook. There's not an exact answer here, but there's gotta be things. Actually, we coach it with the focal point work. It's are you an entrepreneur? Are you a manager, or are you a technician? And it's that technician stuff that drags you down, how much time you spend in the technician world, that you could hire that out and pay somebody else so you could get back up into the entrepreneurial side of it and be strategic and think about your business and help it grow, rather than being down in the tactical and have to take care of the mundane stuff that's not what you started the business for. You started the business because you were excited and you created something and had this passion around something. You didn't start it so that you could do payroll or you could do accounting or you could do whatever. So hire that out. I think there's value in that to keep you in the space that made you valuable to this company to begin with.
100%. And I think you can get wrapped up in those tasks feeling like you're getting ahead and doing work, but you're just on the hamster wheel. And you're like, 6 months goes by and you're like, wow, maybe not 6 months, but really a time goes by and you're like, wow, what am I doing? Like, we worked in the business for so long just to keep it going and not on the business. And you have to, the machine has to keep filling back up with new money, and it's all these things, but also then you have to keep your cup filled with the passion too. And that's hard, because if you're just in the weeds the whole time, then the passion's lost and it's a business and you're like, what are we doing this for? It's a job. Pay, exactly. You're paying for another job. So the only other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, because I think it's so interesting, is, we talked about you liquidating the 401k and working for a lot of years, and you invested in investments. But at some point, you invest in yourself and you invest in these skill sets and things. And so, and you invest in your business. So for us, it's a really interesting thing where it's hard sometimes. And I just want to have like the open conversation about it. It's hard sometimes to throw a large, substantial amount of cash at something that you don't know it's going to work. When you throw it into the market, you're getting 6 to 12%, on a decent year, right? In real estate, maybe a little bit more, and you're getting all the other hidden benefits. And so it's a little bit more quantitative, right? And you can kind of say, okay, here's the numbers. I can project this. I can guess this. But when you throw it into whether it's a new hire or a new strategy you're doing, and you're just investing into this, you're like, I hope this works, man. Like, I don't know. We need 3 new bodies to come in to pay for this, or else it's not going to work, or whatever it is. And so these are just conversations Corey and I are having every day. And we've been ping-ponging back and forth of like, okay, do we go another 3 months with the same strategy? Do we redeploy, start something new, knowing it's going to take a month to build it up? So it's just a very interesting thing. So I was very curious on how your brain works and how you make these decisions with your partner, because I know it's not just you the whole time, and like how you guys truly vet things out before pulling the trigger.
Yeah, to me, you're advertising for exactly why there are business coaches out there. Not to plug myself for Focal Point or whatever. This is exactly what business coaches do, is help you think through all of that. The beauty of coaching versus consulting is consulting will come and tell you what to do. Coaching will sit there and say, well, let's talk about what your goals are. What are you trying to do? Where are you now? What are your options you're looking at? Well, let's walk through these and see what aligns to what ultimately you're trying to do to keep you accountable. That to me is exactly what I loved about getting the business coaching certification. Is the business coaches almost become a business partner to you, but they have no equity in the business. They're there as a third party that isn't going to be influenced by the emotion of all the history that you have and what you've done. They're there to help you think through it and cut the fog so that you can look at it clearly and align to what really is important, to what your mission is, what your goals are. to get you on a track that is ultimately what you're trying to do with your business and so forth. So we got a mentor business coach with left field when we were struggling with what to do. And it was very impactful for us. That's kind of what sparked me to go buy the franchise, was that had an impact on us and what we were doing at the time. I want to go help people that are in a struggling spot. And it's not that you're struggling, that you're about to fail. It's your growth is good and you're struggling with managing the growth. That's just as important. So I think you guys are big fans of the mentorship program. Business coaching is the same kind of thing. And it really helps you evaluate those situations you struggle with in many cases. And
I think that's
get to a resolution.
Yeah, I think it's probably the next step for us. It's so interesting. When you put it plainly like that, I feel like we have tricked ourselves into the mastermind groups being our coaches. And they're like, that's our business coach. But you don't get the one-on-one. You do to a point, but it's not like, hey guys, what are we doing this week? We are tracking our own KPIs, doing these things, trying to hold each other accountable as best we can with the busyness of everything. But to have someone on the outside come in and look at it, I guess it's that stage is so interesting to me. But I get in my head where I'm thinking about, okay, well, how is this person, is this person in real estate, for example, right? But does this person also have a media company and all these things? Like, is it applicable to us, specifically to our very niched business? Whereas do you get a business coach that's just very blanketed, that helps you over the top? So being that I have no idea, right? These are just things that go through my head. Maybe you could coach us a little bit here, just on like, hey, when you're going to look for a business coach, does it have to be someone that's niched down to you, or is it kind of broad? And like, where do you start?
Yeah. So no is the short answer. I went into business coaching. The beauty of coaching is I'm not coming in as an industry expert. I'm coming in as a business expert, and I'm trying to help you pick apart your business. You guys are the industry expert. You know what your business is supposed to be doing. I'm here to help you just think through the business side of things. So it really changed. And that's another big difference between coaching and consulting, I think, too, is I coach businesses in all different industries because I'm not coming in as an industry expert. I'm coming in as a business expert to help boil back down the raw things that run your business that are related to your growth expectations and goals that you have. Instead of saying, oh, well, hey, real estate's looking good now, so you should dump money into this aspect. That's not what I'm there for. It's more, here's your growth. Here's what your goals are. Here's the resources that are available to you. Well, what if you did hire somebody that could take all these different tasks off your two calendars, and then you could deploy yourself more in that entrepreneurial phase for more hours of a week? How much more is that going to help you with your overall business at the end of the day? So that's the perk of coaching versus business or versus consulting to me, is it really ends up being an extra partner sitting on your team helping you think through this, but they have a whole different interest in it than what you two have as you're doing your own thing.
The reality of this, Chad, is that you'll never know unless you're willing to take the risk and try to hire people and just put yourself out there, because this is where I find people fail. There is no perfect answer to the solution or to the problem that you're looking for. It's like, hey, how do I find the perfect coach or the perfect consultant or the perfect? If you're looking for that, what will inevitably happen is that you will search and search and search and search yourself into oblivion, and you won't do anything because you're going to be looking for that perfect thing. Same thing with business, same thing with life. The people that are winning are making decisions, and they're just going, and they're not afraid to fail because they're like, well, I lost some money there, or something happened here, but at least I tried. And then I met this person through osmosis of this conversation. And now I'm pivoted to this move. And the people that stay stuck, and, I have these conversations all day long, and people that stay stuck are the ones that, they kind of look back, and that daunting R word comes up of regret. It's like, I can't, I'd rather live with like, damn, I just put everything I had into this than like, oh man, I really should have paid that person $6,000 to teach me, it's like,
well, that's the thing with coach that I tell people a lot of time. Is it worth a couple grand a month for a few months to get some help and make a better educated decision? So you mitigate some of your risk. Or do you want to take a flyer on it and just see if hope it works out, kind of thing? And you're going to learn from a mistake you maybe make instead. So, it's funny because then the flip side of it from an investment standpoint, I always say you got to get over the fear of missing out too, of don't get wrapped up that this one looks good, I need to jump on that. Be patient too. Patience is helpful, but don't be so patient that you don't take any steps forward either. So you're right. It's a dance, it could go either way, sadly, but.
100%. Last question for me, Chad. I always like to ask people kind of more philosophical, like, we're both, time is our most valuable resource. We have, we don't know how much of it we have. So money's great, but I'm curious about your why and like what gets you out of bed every morning. Like, what's the reason that you do what you do? Like real estate investing, consulting, coaching, working the job. Like, I think COVID was this great reset for everyone to think like, do I want to do this shit anymore? Like, do I really want to do what I've been doing? And you didn't have that time to think about it. Now that we've kind of had 4 or 5 years, I think people have been like, I'm still even in that mode of thinking, well, I can't believe the world shut down. So that could happen again. AI's coming. What do I really want to do? So anyway, my question is like, what gets you out of bed? Like, what's the purpose or the passion behind what you're doing?
Yeah, the personal passion and the why is definitely the family. I want to educate the kids. My kids, I got a 21-year-old and a 19-year-old, and I want to educate them on all the opportunities that are out there. I grew up on a farm. My family didn't even know what human resources was. So, I wasn't exposed to a lot of stuff. I want to expose my kids to all that's out there to, again, go make better decisions. From a business standpoint, my why is I want to introduce this space to as many people as I can to let them know it's viable, it's legit. There are myths. I actually have a webinar that I do about the 7 myths of real estate investing, that just to try to debunk as many myths as I can and get people to think about it, look at it, research it, spend some time on it and learn, get into a community and learn from a community so that you can try what works best for you and diversify your portfolio. That way you don't take a huge hit if one thing turns bad on you, if you will, and that kind of thing. So it's a little bit of both whys. The family's what drives most of what I've tried to do. Now that they're kind of getting up and going, I'm, looking more to what do I want? Where do I want to be? So I'm like lake shopping now. Where do I want to move and be and build my homestead for them to come home to and that kind of thing. So
the best part about these conversations that I get to have with people we've interviewed 22-year-olds, we've interviewed 47-year-olds, we've interviewed 69-year-olds. But the coolest part is that I get to live vicariously through each person. And I found, I just feel like it makes me and Ryan and hopefully the audience more worldly about the decisions that they make. And my example here is like, it's funny. People talk about their family and wanting to do this for their family. And then all of a sudden you get to a point where your family's self-sufficient, like I don't even have kids. So like, don't listen to what I'm saying necessarily, but I'm just saying like, that's coming. That phase of my life is coming. Rye's in the mix with his daughter, who's 2.5, like he's raising a child. Then they get to the point where they go to college and then it's like, whoa, like I've identified as a father and a mother for so many years. And now it's like, you kind of get back to what you want to do while still being the supportive, loving parent, just at a different phase, right? So to me, it's just so interesting to talk to people who have been through multiple phases of life. You liquidating your 401k and kind of going all in, and then now you have this time and you can do the things that you're passionate about, and it's exciting. So go ahead.
My old man wisdom here for you, I will share. I have never felt a bigger weight off of my shoulders than where I have gotten to with a 19-year-old and a 21-year-old. The 21-year-old's studying architecture at University of Cincinnati. She's literally in Florence, Italy, studying abroad right now. I took her a week ago to the airport to go. My son, the 19-year-old, was done with school. He's going into electrician work and he's studying to be an electrician. I love the idea and he's doing great. He already saved up a Roth IRA last year. He's got another one that's on par to save up this year. That I hit this point that is a great place to get to of, I view I was put on this earth to be a father first and foremost. I loved being a father. I cherished every aspect of it. And I wasn't a friend, I was a father. So I was the disciplinarian. I felt it was my job to make you ready to be an adult. I'm seeing signs now out of these two that I'm like, okay, you did a good job. Like you can breathe, you can relax now. That I say I've never felt weight come off of me like I'm experiencing right now, because I feel like they're going to be great members of society, that I did what I needed to do. And now I can go, what's my identity now? What am I going to be? Now go find that next passion, which is probably a job of some kind, too.
Chad, I find that entrepreneurs will put up this facade that they're doing it for their family. They say this all the time. I hear it all the time. And I ask the question of what their why is. People are like, my family. And I think I think it's bullshit for a lot of people. They're doing it to feed their own ego. But I can tell by having a conversation with you that it's genuine and you mean it. And it's very interesting as I enter this next phase of my life where I have not become a father yet. I worry about, man, do I have the capacity? Like, how does this work? Like, I'm so passionate about certain things. And then like, I've heard that, something just clicks if you're ready for it, or if you are meant for it, you never necessarily are ready for it. But I just find that to be, a lot of entrepreneurs will put on this show like, oh, I do it for my family. When in reality, everyone talks about the most important things in their life is actually being the parent and actually being the father. And it's like, maybe let go of some of the dollars and cents at some point. If really that is the most important thing to you. And I think, I'm sure Ra has something to say on this. It's just, it's fascinating to me. I think people just put that at the forefront, but they're not serious about it. And I can tell that you are, so.
But it's the only experience I've had in my life of as close as I could ever say I've experienced unconditional love is that parent-child relationship of, I have close friends. I love guys like my brother, but there are conditions there that you don't really speak of at times, kind of thing. Kids, at least to me, I'm responsible for them. I say it was an 18-year clock, but I'm going to be responsible for them all my life. That it's the closest thing I've experienced that is that unconditional love experience that I think it's great. I think it's gold. It's a lot of work. There's bad days. There's good days. There's bad days. But the reward of having that, and again, seeing where they are now, is huge for me. And I'll be their friend in another 4 years or so, then we could be friends, but I'm still a parent at this point.
I love your perspective here, man. I'm two and a quarter in of my journey there. So, and it's a girl, which is awesome. So that's new for me. I'm one of 3 boys. So, my mom's definitely happy that she finally got her girl, but, I will say it's something just intrinsic, right? Primal. Like you can't really control that. I can't even explain it to you. I think you nailed it, right? It's one of those things I think people forget, like that is a little piece of you. So it's just a different version of you. Like it's me in girl form and my wife kind of combined. And then you see all these things that come out in her that they're pieces of you. It's like, it's your good parts, your bad parts. You have to train her again and your kids, right? Like you're just training them for society, but they didn't ask to be here. So you have to prep them for what the world really is. Right. And it's interesting. Like for me, maybe it was like after college, like you really realize how much your parents have done for you, right? You go to college. For me, I remember going to college and you're in this fantasy world where you can do basically whatever you want. All you have to do is go to class, but you're making friendships, you're going through experiences, you're, trying to train yourself for the real world, but then you get thrown into it after and you're like, whoa, how did they do this? Like, I have no idea how they built businesses, how they went to work every day, how they raised us kids. And then when you have a kid, like it just changes the whole game, and it makes you appreciate them even more because it's just it's a juggling act and you don't know the answer. So overall, man, I appreciate your perspective on everything. I think Corey, you're definitely gonna be a great dad. You're a coach, so I mean, you're ready for it. It's just I think no one truly can be prepared. You just get thrown into the fire.
You figure it out.
I just figured there's a lot of people out there that are parents that have no business doing it. So if they can do it, I'm sure I could too. So great conversation, Chad. This is awesome, man. I really appreciate your time. It. Yeah. And if people want to learn more about you, they want to network, join your new community coaching. They want to be in your presence more. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yeah, they can check out my website at chadackermanrealestate.com, or I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn as well, which is the easiest place. So
sweet.
Either way.
This has been awesome, man, just to get to know you.
Yeah,
and,
really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I really cherish conversations like this. It's just, especially when somebody has 15, 20 years our senior, just to be like, well, you know what? Maybe we are on the right path after all. Who knows? So
you won't know until you're down the path, unfortunately, but that you're in the right trajectory anyway. Let's say that.
Appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.